All right, so we are recording now, and I will get the recording transposed to Facebook, or not Facebook, YouTube, and I will get it posted. It should be tomorrow morning. So, and I typically post the recording at the bottom of the virtual classroom learning activity. So that's where you should be able to find it. I will also post a copy of the PowerPoint that I'm using tonight so that you have a copy of that as well. So, let me pray for us and then let's jump into this. Oh, thanks for the time that you carve out for us and for the leadership that you give us about ethics and our character, our just who we are. And we want that to be consistent and congruent. We want what our clients see to be what everybody else sees. And um, um, we want to create safe places for them. Thank you for bringing around us people who walk with us when we have ethical concerns and ethical dilemmas to address. I thank you for each of these men and women and the time and the money and the life that they are investing in equipping themselves to be part of this wonderful, wonderful journey that we get to be on. So, thanks for your presence here with us tonight. Guide us, and we pray together in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Well, I see some familiar faces and some new faces. So we're gonna do the John Townsend thing. I don't want to take a whole lot of time with here at the beginning because I want to be sure that we get through what we need to get through tonight. But I do want to hear, tell me your name, where you're from, where you are in the program. And let me start by asking, are all of you in cohort together? No. Okay, so some of you may be meeting one another for the first time tonight as well. So if my desk eats pens and pencils, I don't know if yours does that or not, but mine eats things. And it's not that big. All right. So can we start with can we start with Arlene?
Okay, I am trying to do 2 classes at once, and the other one, I don't know how to turn down.
That's what we were hearing.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm sorry.
Okay.
My name's Arlene Cook, and I'm from Florida, and I've had classes with a few people here. And I apologize for the noise, but I can't turn her off. I can't figure it out.
We get that way sometimes. You just can't turn us off. So you're from Florida. Where are you in the program, Arlene?
I am about 3 classes away from finishing.
Yeah, close.
Yeah.
So are you looking for a May graduation then?
No, because I have to do practicum, internship, so December of next year.
December of next year? Okay. Yes. Very good. Very good. Okay, we'll let you juggle between the two of us here.
Thank you for your patience.
Jody.
Did you say me? Hi. Yeah. It's nice seeing you again.
Nice to see you.
Thank you. I'm Jody Cook, no relation to Arlene, but it would be cool if we were related. I'm in Irvine, California. I just moved here a month ago and I'm loving it. And I'm
Oh.
about the same place as Arlene in the program as well, looking at December of next year. Still need to do practicum and internship coming up soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's getting closer, guys.
I know.
That's
Thank you.
exciting. All right. Meg is sitting in on the other class tonight. Megan.
Hi, I'm Megan.
Hi.
I'm in Fort Worth, Texas right now, and I'm a little over a year into the program. Going to finish my coursework first and then hopefully start practicum after that.
Okay, great. Good, good, good. Yeah, if you can work it out to where you don't have to be taking classes at the same time that you're taking, particularly your internship, but practicum too. There's a little bit of breathing space. Not always possible, but when you can, it does give you some breathing space. All right, Catherine.
Hi,
Hello
I'm
there.
Catherine. How you doing? Good to see you
Good.
again.
Good to see you.
I'm in North Carolina, and I'm also like Jody and Arlene, just hoping to finish next December. So yeah, that's where I am, and I go by Catherine or Kay.
Okay. All right. Anna.
Hey,
Hey.
how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Good to see you again, Mary.
Good to see you.
My name's Anna Catherine, but most of you guys know I go by Ace.
Ace.
There's a few familiar faces and then some unfamiliar faces as well. So I'm currently in my hometown of Knoxville, Tennessee, because my sister gets married this weekend. It's a big week. But I reside in Denver, Colorado. So just
Okay.
here for the week, spending time with
Just
family.
there for the wedding, huh? For the wedding
Exactly.
festivities. Oh,
Yeah.
how fun.
Lots of fun things going on. It's stressful having school this week, but we're making it work.
Well, I'm glad you're getting to be with her.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll finish the program next December as well. I start
December?
practicum in January.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. All right. Is it, you're gonna have to help me. Is it Micheline or
I always know who you're going for. It's it's Michaeline.
Micheline? Okay.
Michaeline, yeah. And I am in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I will be starting practicum in January, as many of you hoping to graduate in December of next year.
Great.
Yeah.
Do you have a practice like that?
Yeah. So
Good.
just check that off the list.
All right. Yeah, that's a good thing, particularly in this climate right now.
Yeah.
Justin,
Hey, Professor, good to see you again.
how are you?
Hey, I'm doing all right. I'm
Good.
hoping I do better in this class. Like, I'm hoping I earn a better grade in this class than our last one.
Ah,
That
struggle a
was on
little.
me.
Ah,
Yeah.
last
But,
7 weeks were hard for people, I think.
Yeah.
Just round all around, I think they were hard for people.
Yeah. Well, I'm also one of those December next year graduates and
Okay.
January practicum, and I live in the Bronx, New York.
And do you have your practicum?
Tentatively.
Okay.
Yeah. Like a handshake deal at the moment.
Okay. Well, hopefully that'll work out for you. As you all know, this COVID climate has created some real challenges for getting practicums and internships lined up and getting people to take you on. So, if you've got leads or got sources, it's not too early to be pursuing them. Trying to see if they'll guarantee you a spot. All right. Marilyn.
Hey, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and I have till August of 2023. So yeah,
Okay.
feel pretty different from everybody else.
Well, we're glad you're here with us right now. Okay. Aubrey, say it for me so that I won't screw your name up.
It's Abria.
Abria.
You can call me Bria though. It's
Okay.
fine either way. I'm from Southern California, Norwalk to be specific, but I feel like most people don't know where Norwalk is. So I'm right in the middle of like OC and LA. And I'm pretty much like everybody else. Practicum January, finished by December of next year.
All right. What an exciting time for you guys. Thank you. And Peter.
Hey.
Hey.
Yeah, my name's Peter Watson, and I live in Seattle, Washington, and I'm about halfway through the program.
Okay. Thank you. One of the reasons that I ask where you are in the program is that sometimes it's helpful with legal and or with ethical and legal issues to know what courses you may have taken before this, and where you are in the line. Ethical concerns, legal issues is probably one of the most important pieces of what we look at as mental health therapists, because we're surrounded with them all the time, with our clients, in our communities, globally, um, and we've had some really strong challenges in this last year for us as a country with regard to ethical and legal issues, and we're still trying to work our way through those in some way that resembles health. So it's a good time to be coming together and talking about some of these issues. I'm going to pull up a PowerPoint and you. Yay! I'm working to get a second monitor so that I can have my PowerPoint up and still have you guys on screen. But we ran into some hookup issues over the weekend, and so we did not get that done. Obviously, this is 6:05, and legal, ethical, professional issues. We're probably going to wind up talking more about the ethics of our profession than we are about some of the other pieces of it. But we still are going to stick our toe in the water with those issues as well. So I don't, as most of you know, I don't go over the syllabus with you. I figure if you're in graduate school, you can read the syllabus. So if anybody has questions about the syllabus, I'm happy to answer them. But I pull out a few things that we need to touch base on. Assignments. You've been in the program long enough that you should recognize the assignments. There'll be 3 to 5 learning activities. I think most of the courses now, the curriculum teams have got the learning activities narrowed down to 5. Some weeks there may be 4 because there may be an assignment that has to do with your final project. So I am, I'm screening those. So I have already screened week 1 and all of the links are working. Everything is doing what it's supposed to do. I've corrected typos where I found them. I would like your help as well. If you find errors in the typing or whatever, spellings, those kinds of things, as you're reading through, if you would let me know about those, I keep a running chart of those and I turn them into the curriculum team. Because we ask you guys to be professional in what you do. And so we need to make the effort to do that as well. If there are ever assignment instructions that are unclear, you absolutely are welcome to contact me. You have my email address, you have my phone number, so you are welcome to text me, email me. If we need to meet one-on-one, we'll set up a time to do that. I am more than welcome to do that. Just know that if there are questions, sometimes if you have a question, it's a pretty good chance that other people have a question too. A lot of times what I'll do is if you email me a question, then I'll send out a response to the entire class as an email because it's something that needs to be clarified for everyone. You're going to be doing a final project in this course. And as your final project, you're going to make a choice of 3 areas that you have some interest in terms of ethical issues or legal issues, legal and ethical issues. One is domestic or partner violence. The second is elder care, issues of elder care, aging and elder care. And the third just went right out of my head. Not abortion. Hang on just a second. There we go. Spousal or partner abuse, conflicting values, that's it. Conflicting values between the counselor and the client. And that could be something like if you're going to be asked to work with someone who is having some gender identity issues. One of the cases that we're going to take a look at through this 7 weeks has to do with helping to walk clients through the decision-making process with abortion. So you're going to choose one of these topics, and then once you've chosen your topic, you're going to decide what direction you're going to go in it. So you're not writing a dissertation or a theme paper on spousal or partner abuse. You're looking for what are the ethical obligations that we have in terms of spousal and partner abuse intervention. And particularly you want to pay attention to your state if you would choose this one. So if you're in Colorado, does Colorado legislation allow you to make any kind of report in a situation of spousal or partner abuse? I have to tell you that there are very few states that make provision for that. In most states, we cannot report spousal or partner abuse. But then ethically, how does that happen? Well, what can happen in those cases? One thing that can happen is if there are children in the home. Sometimes that's a way that we can address it. And so of course there you need to know what the protocol is for your site and what the protocol is for your state. So you're going to choose one of these 3 general topics, and then you're going to revise it into a more specific topic as to what you're looking for in terms of legal and ethical issues surrounding the topic. Okay? My PowerPoint about that. And we'll talk about that probably till you're sick and tired of talking about it. This week, you're going to look at both the APA or the ACA Code of Ethics and the AACC Code of Ethics. In this course, as in all of your courses, we expect that your papers are going to be APA formatted. I got a message today asking about which version of APA, because I understand some of you are using APA 7. And the learning activity, I believe, sends you to APA 6. I'm okay with either one. I will not deduct points as long as you have an APA formatted paper. I will not deduct points for that. If you have questions, always ask. So those are the 4 big points that we need to touch base on. And how many of you are members of the American Counseling Association already, student members? If you're not aware, ACA does have a student membership. You can join for reduced fees, but you get all of the information that ACA sends out during the year, and sometimes opportunities to volunteer at ACA event, and which is always a good networking opportunity. The ACA, the Code of Ethics is the gold standard for what we do as a profession. They're not rules, they are guidelines, but they're there to help us be of best benefit to our clients, use best practices with our clients. And they're there to help us maintain our own personal and professional integrity. Because if we don't have that, we are sunk in the water. Without your integrity, clients are not going to trust you. Referral sources are not going to trust you. They need to see a genuine, congruent individual. When you show up, you need to show up as consistent. And so the Code of Ethics gives us a standard of practice. It gives us something that coerces all of us and says, all right, we operate under this umbrella. This is our starting place. It clarifies ethical responsibilities that members hold in common. So I know what is expected of me. Whoa, what am I getting here? It protects our clients. It's something that gives them a guideline to be able to go to and see what acceptable practices look like. And it protects society at large. One of the most dangerous things that can happen is therapists gone wild, therapists gone rogue. and thinking that they know everything that they need to know, and nobody is going to tell me what to do. And if you've read Henry Cloud's book, Integrity, you know that he talks about the wake that we leave behind us. And if we don't practice ethically, we leave a very destructive wake behind us. So it just kind of puts some boundaries around us, some essential boundaries around us. Protects us, it protects the profession. Now, when we look into, or when we jump into a study of ethics, then there are a couple of things that are required, a number of things that are required. One is we have to be able to think critically. We have to be able to reason out what just exactly what the issue is that is of concern. That's our starting place, is what's really the issue here. And then we can start to work on where to go from there. We need to strengthen our own judgment and our own decision-making processes. We would all like to believe that we do not have biases, but we do. All of us do. And we need to be aware of what those biases are. Sometimes you're not going to know them until you come up against one in a counseling session. So part of being able to use our critical thinking skills in situations like this is being able to come back and say, I need to take a step back here. There could be some countertransference issues going on here, or I may not be able to see things from this client's perspective. And so that's where you go back to your supervisor, your supervision network, or your life team, and you don't try to determine ethical dilemmas alone, ever. Being aware of ethical issues means that we also then become advocates for social reform. When we see things that are wrong, we don't stay silent about them. And that involves a lot of times stepping outside of those offices and getting involved in community. Moving to change legislation when it's significant. And those can be long journeys, but we are a vital part of making those changes happen. And like all professions, we have some culturally bound procedures, just because of how they've originated. But they're not always. Our interventions, our theoretical pursuits are not always culture friendly, or culturally promoting cultural understanding. So one of the things that it's important for us to do as therapists is to recognize when those things are happening. It's important for us to engage with our clients and to not make assumptions about our clients. You know, for instance, if I have someone who comes in from an Asian cultural heritage, I need to not assume that that person follows that Asian cultural heritage, I need to have the client teach me about how culture impacts them. And so I look at things from their perspective rather than assuming, oh, you're from an Asian family, and so, or you have an Asian heritage, so it's probably going to be difficult for you to talk in sessions, or um, if you're not going to want to make eye contact with me in session. Rather than assuming those stereotypical things that sometimes are valid in terms of cultural values and mores, we want to dialogue with our client and get them talking to us about what culture means to them. Culturally, I don't want to be the expert in the room. I want my client to be the expert in the room teaching me. And always, always, always using informed, sound, responsible judgment. And for me, that always starts with, I don't make ethical decisions solo. I always, always consult with my peer team and get their input because they will see things that I will not see. And they will see biases in me that sometimes I will miss. And so if I have to jump into some kind of ethical situation, I'm taking my team with me. We're going there together. So for a lot of us, that means we use our supervision. We continue to educate ourselves. Most states now require that you take an ethics course. That part of your CEUs every year includes an ethics course. That it gives us an opportunity to look at ethics from a number of different formats. I've been able to take a really good course on ethics and elder care, ethics and end of life issues, just a lot of different pathways that to be able to explore. And I kind of like to, if I can, have a little bit at least of heads up knowledge before an issue is gonna crop up. I don't know what's happening in your areas, but in the last few years here in Indiana, we've had a strong increase in gender identity issues, and so we've had parents seeking counseling to know how to help their children. And then we've had children also coming into counseling. So I began picking up all of the information that I could about gender identity, sexual identity, and age developmental process, because I knew that I knew it was going to come through my door, and I wanted at least a little bit of a foot up to be able to have thought, first of all, about how I wanted to address it, what I thought about it, those issues, and then how to guide parents and students, kids who were struggling with those dilemmas. Now, I already said this. I'll say it over and over again, that it would be nice if we had a rule book that said this is what's true in every situation. in ethics, that doesn't happen. Most things are not black and white. And particularly as we start to look at how something is impacting an individual client. So if you're a black and white thinker, you're going to get some challenges as we work through this class. And what you're going to find is that a lot of times the codes themselves don't address those gray areas. There'll be a code that will address a general area, but in terms of walking our way through those gray areas, that's where we have to depend on our critical thinking skills and the information that's available to us. And you know, of course, for me and I would hope for you as well, the wisdom of the Holy Spirit is a part of that. And just knowing ethics, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to engage in an ethical practice. It has to become a part of ethics, ethical behavior, ethical professionalism has to become ingrained in who you are. So you're going to have opportunities through the course to assess yourself, to take a look at yourself. We can have ethical dilemmas when we've got two competing ethical values. For instance, we've got an elderly parent who is terminal and is wanting to refuse additional care. And then on the other side, we've got family members who are saying, we can't let you die. You can't just die. As long as there's something that can be done, we want it done. And so we've got two competing ethical values there, and walking that family through that decision-making process, it can be emotionally taxing. It's important that we know what our ethical values are in those situations. Sometimes our personal values conflict with some of the professional ethics values. You're going to have a chance to look at those two codes of ethics this week. You may see some things that you struggle with. And so it's good for us to be able to look at those and to talk about those. Sometimes codes will conflict with institutional policies and practices. I would hope that you wouldn't see this very often in your practice, but it is possible. And so you might be put in a position where you have to make a decision of do you go with what your organization says is the best policy, or do you follow the code of ethics, the strict code of ethics? Always multicultural situations can create ethical dilemmas. And this is really a case of the more we know. We truly need to be learners of other cultures, and not just assume that we know. Okay, you're going to see this in your reading this week. There really are some things that we do look at when we have to make an ethical decision. Okay, questions so far? Trying to get through this as quick as I can, so so we can do an exercise. All right, if you've got questions, let me know. we look at autonomy. That each person has the right to determine their own values and determine how they will follow those values. It's not our role to be influencers of people. Our role is to help people understand their own thinking and what they want for their lives. We're not to be persuaders. We want our clients to choose their own direction, and that means that we open up to them as many options in any ethical situation as we possibly can, and then they get to make the choice. Non-maleficence, do no harm. We lead with that always, that I don't want to be doing anything that might cause potential harm to my client. And sometimes that creates difficult situations in terms of something like informing a parent about a child's drug use, or talking with a client who is perhaps in an abusive situation. And we know that if they stay, the chances are that the abuse will be repeated and it will escalate. But we need to be willing to not do anything that might harm that client. So, for instance, then telling the client, well, you've got to get out of that situation, or it's not safe for you to be there. You need to find someplace else to go. What I might be doing in doing that is creating more harm for the client. So I want to avoid that. Beneficence, we want to be doing good. We want to be promoting well-being for our clients. We want to be promoting well-being in the community. And that involves us being proactive. Justice. Being fair by giving equally to others. We all know life is not fair, but we want to be able to try to provide is an equitable opportunity for everyone. What they do with those opportunities, that's up to them. But what we want to try to do is to see that everyone has an equitable opportunity to live a good life. Fidelity. This means what I tell you, you can take to the bank. And if you come back to me a dozen times and ask me the same question, that my response to you, the truth that I will respond with, will always be consistent. It won't change. I won't promise things that I can't promise. Sometimes we're really good at that. We'll promise our kids, I'll always be there for you. That's a lie. We cannot give our kids that kind of promise. We don't know that we will always be there for them. Looking out for the welfare of our clients. And when we make promises, be sure we keep them. Veracity, again, being honest, accurate, and truthful. I'm not going to speak into something that I don't know about. My opinion a lot of times is not required. If I express an opinion, it's going to be validated with some kind of factual information that says this is not just somebody talking out the top of their head, but this is someone who has um, has sought information and who is willing to share that truthful information. When we are making ethical decisions, and you're going to read this in your book this week, but just kind of keep this one in mind, because this is the process that we're going to keep coming back to. We're going to, first of all, identify the problem. What's going on? We're going to identify any potential issues that might be involved. We're going to look for the relevant codes and see if there are any conflicts in the code with what we're seeing in this situation. We're going to know the laws and regulations of our state. We're always going to obtain consultation and supervision. You know, this is what's been happening with this client. Here's what I've discovered. Here's what I understand to be true. Here's what I'm thinking. Can you give me some feedback? Then we're going to consider possible and probable courses of action, and this means we're going to discuss with our client the pros and cons of any action. Typically, I will do this in a chart with the client. And so sometimes I'm gonna use a tough one, and we can't jump into it tonight, but I am not a proponent of abortion. But if a client comes in thinking that abortion is going to be their choice, I am going to listen to that, but I am also going to be sure that that client is aware of all of the other choices that she might have. And then she decides what she's going to do, and that's hers to live with. But my job, what I'm going to see, is that we have looked at every possibility and the consequences of various decisions. And then we're going to choose, let our client choose what appears to be the best course of action. If it's the decision that we're having to make, we're going to choose the best course of action. There are some things that go on within us always. We are an important factor in that room with that client. And so always our own level of self-awareness is going to impact how we're able to engage with clients, our personality traits. You know, some people are more charismatic, and some clients are very much in need of approval. And so if they think that we are leaning toward one response or another, they may make that response in an attempt to please us rather than because it's the right response for them. We have to pay attention to goals always, and our personal needs and self-care and all of those kinds of things. Transference and countertransference, you should have come up against that a number of times already. That when the client is shifting traits or issues onto us, transference when we are experiencing issues as a result of what the client is saying, it's countertransference. Just our personal dynamics is a part of, some people come across softer than others, some come across harsher than others, and being aware of that. Job stress, certainly over this last 3 years, we've all experienced that in this field as well as in many others, as we've had to adjust to telehealth and a number of other adjustments in the way we get paid, the way we're able to engage with clients, whether or not we're even able to see clients. And then for us, always, there are those issues of balancing my life, the rest of my life, with this role that I have as a therapist, and that not allowing this to take over everything in my life, and paying attention to self-care. That warn cliche about if the oxygen mask drops from the ceiling, put your own oxygen mask on before you try to help somebody else, is absolutely true for us, as we look at the pressures and the stressors of being a part of this profession. All right. Let's take a minute here and think about, let me get some feedback from you guys in terms of the character structures. What kinds of issues do you think might come up with attachment?
The sexual relationship
Yeah,
or becoming friends with the client outside of
absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's such an important place where we have to protect the client, that we don't give them any indication of any kind of sexual interest or activity. And also, you're gonna meet up with people that you really like, and you think, I'd really like for that person to be a friend. But because of the relationship that we have, that's not possible. And so we need to be able to deal with that. How about separation? Can you think of anything that might become an issue with separation?
I think being overly involved in the client's life. I think that we watched a video last term where a story came up where a therapist went to the house of someone because they were on suicide watch. So instead of referring them to other people and getting help, they felt like they had to be hands-on too much, to the point where then the client didn't have any autonomy.
Yeah. Good example. How about integration?
Well, you're talking about how there's a lot of,
being overly
Go ahead, Kate.
I know you were talking about how there's, if you have trouble with black and white, this could be a problem for you. So you'd really have to work that through with your integration.
Absolutely. Yeah. And with our clients too. If you've got a client that only sees one perspective, then the challenge becomes for you to help them see other perspectives without trying to persuade them to come over to your way of thinking or whatever. How about issues in adulthood?
trying to hold them by the hand instead of letting them make their own decisions.
That'd be a good one. Yeah. It's sometimes people make decisions and they even make decisions based on the best information available at the time. And those decisions don't work out. So clients need coaching into how to help those situations as well. How to walk through those situations as well. So, so we're going to be looking at how character structure fills in or fits in with legal and ethical issues. All right. Any questions so far?
Yeah, Professor, feel free to bat this aside if this derails us, but I was just wondering, like, since ethics can be culturally relative, like, who is sitting at the table making the guidelines and the moral principles that we're like studying in this course? Like, for example, the AACC Code of Ethics, like the 7 draft executive committee, from what I could tell, was all white, and of a 7-person committee, there was only 1 female. So it doesn't really feel like all of that helpful to have one dominant culture coming in saying, like, these are the ethics that everybody needs to follow.
Yeah, and that's been one of the, especially in the last couple of years, that's been one of the critiques of both. Well, I started to say both, but it kind of goes across the board with professional ethics, because typically those, social workers, doctors, law attorneys, most every profession has a code of ethics. And typically they've been drafted by primarily Caucasian or white individuals. Something that it didn't change necessarily ethics a great deal, but in the publication of this last DSM, the DSM-5, there was a more international committee involved in every single section of that DSM-5. It's a step in the right direction. We've got a long way to go, and yours is a great question. It will be interesting to see what kinds of changes we get in the codes of ethics as some of these boards are, and these panels are changing their composition a little more. I can't tell you that it's happened already. I can tell you that it is in the process. It's in the works. But what we have now, you're right, has primarily been written by white practitioners. Some of them therapists, a number of them attorneys. And so one of the things that as you are looking through, as you are reading through those codes of ethics this week, look for places that kind of bias is fairly obvious.
Professor Adams?
Yeah. Did that help at all? Just
No, it does, and I appreciate that you that you see it as a problem too, and that you're implicitly giving permission to look for bias and
Yes,
like, challenge
absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. Yeah, Peter, was that?
Yeah, just a related question. I appreciate Justin's question. It's an interesting one. And I'm thinking about the example that you talked about early in the class about how if you sat down with an Asian client, you would want to learn from that client before you assumed that they were bringing in a stereotypical cultural outlook. And so I'm thinking, there's a little bit of, when you're looking at these ethics committees and you're seeing, a majority of white males, sounds like, there's a little bit of an underlying assumption that all white males think similarly. Which seems like, like those are two extremes that we would want to avoid. Correct? If I'm understanding you correctly?
And I can tell you that when these teams have met to draw up these codes, their intent has never been to create a biased piece of work. We've just become more and more aware of what that looks like and how that does impact people. It started really with education and looking at standardized testing and how biased standardized testing was with students. And so examining that whole realm or that whole paradigm is as something that I'm going to say it's in its infancy because I think really more attention has been paid to it in the last couple of years, more non-judgmental seeking to understand has been paid attention to it in the last couple of years than ever before. Where now when we sit down at the table with a group of people, we listen to them instead of pronouncing what we believe about them. So our minds are more open. We're open to seeing things from different perspectives. And that's going to mean some radical changes as we continue to work on those, to dialogue those issues. And what's exciting for me is that you guys are going to be a huge part of that process because of when you're entering the field. So you are going to have opportunity to impact that in significant ways if you choose to do so. Hopefully we can have some really good discussions as we go along. I am not afraid of you challenging things. I promise I won't take it personally. Or if I do, I'll take responsibility for it. So, all right, we've got a little bit of time here left. What I would like for us to do is I want to break you up into group rooms. And I want you to take a look at the case of Judy. So I'm going to get out of this screen and come back in with the case of Judy. And I think, I can send this to you in your group rooms. And you can read through it. This is just kind of a get your feet wet. Have some fun looking at it and talking it through. Okay. So let me have to stop the share. Breakout rooms. Okay, I'm going to put you in your breakout rooms, and then I'm going to try to share the document with you. I think I can do that. Here we go.